Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week, we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Tony McKrimmon. And I want to say hi, Tony. Thank you
Hello.
for joining us. And I'm just going to have him tell you where he's from originally and where he currently lives.
Yeah, originally I'm from Pickerington, Ohio, and then I had a short stint in Louisville, Kentucky, actually, and then moved back to Louisville, Kentucky, or moved back to Pickerington in seventh grade and was there up through college, and now live in Portsmouth, Ohio.
All right, Louisville. I'm there quite a bit now. So, what? I know you play instruments. Can you tell us all the instruments you play? I've seen you do several. You
I
do
play,
music.
yes. So I play flute. I can play, but avoid clarinet. Saxophone is my main. Trumpet is probably my second main. Trombone. I can play, but avoid playing tuba. I play bass guitar for Cornerstone United Methodist, and then I can somewhat fake my way through like easy jazz piano stuff. Like I know enough piano to help me with my arranging stuff, but would never go into a public place or anything and try and play.
You wouldn't do a one-person show.
No.
I lost count. That's 6 or 7, or that's amazing. That's amazing. And you teach.
Yes. I'm the band director at Portsmouth City Schools.
And that's 2 different bands. You have show band.
Well, I have elementary band, which right now is just sixth grade. And then I have junior high band. I have a beginning band for high school. I have the show band, which works with the show choir. I have the marching band, and then also the pep band. And show band's actually kind of, at this point, they're working double duty. They're working with the choir, but this past year we became big enough and, I had enough talent in that band that I decided, hey, let's also do our own stuff. So I should have the same crew next year. I'll be doing double duty next year too.
Wow. Now, I know that you guys have played out the show band, and
Yes,
so that's outside of the school.
yes. I have them playing around the city. We're going to try and do more stuff this year. I think I'm going to try and get them at Port City. I think I'm going to try and get them in Ollie's and just
These are all Portsmouth,
wherever else.
Ohio locations.
Yes.
Ollie's, they have music?
Sometimes. I know he definitely did this summer.
Okay,
Uh,
cool.
but we'll see
So,
what we can do.
well, and that gives them confidence and exposure to doing something on a different level. So that's very cool. I know that you also are in a group. Can you tell me how? Okay, I'm going to stop myself because I get way ahead. Tell me how you got involved in music. I mean, that's
It,
lots of stuff, lots of instruments, lots of bands, lots of teaching.
it's really been a lifelong thing. Like it honestly started in elementary school. My elementary school music teacher, I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly. We learned recorders in like fifth grade. And even then, the music teachers kind of noticed like, yo, this kid's kind of freaky. Like, he picks this up pretty quick. And so then in sixth grade, and that was in Louisville. Then when I got into sixth grade, we were registering for classes, and band orchestra choir came up and said, well, Mom was in band, so I think I'll do band. He said, "What instrument do you want to play?" We hadn't tried any of the instruments. He said, "What instrument do you want to play?" I said, "Well, Mom, what did you play?" "Oh, well, I played clarinet till it broke, and then I played saxophone." "Okay, saxophone it is." So then by the end of the 6th grade year, I had done enough that they were pulling me out of class to practice with 7th and 8th grade band. So I got to do that in 6th grade. And then after that year, we moved back to Pickerington. And like by the end of 7th grade, I pretty much knew I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to just be a band director when I grow up. And so sure enough, once people started hearing that, mom's friends would hand her old instruments and stuff. They found my aunt's old trumpet under the stairs, so I started teaching myself trumpet. Mom found a flute at Hobby Lobby one day, so she came back with a flute, so I started learning flute.
Hobby
Oh,
Lobby. I
yes,
didn't know
I
they
found
had
a flute at Hobby Lobby and brought it home.
I've
Uh,
never heard of them having a musical instrument.
I thought it was weird too, but I was like, okay. And then started working at Walmart during college, and my local music shop had a trombone for like $75. So I picked up a trombone. And then I got hired here at Portsmouth and started working with the show band. And I was like, well, they don't have a bass player. We kind of need that. So went to Diamond Gem Pawn Shop, bought a bass, and started teaching myself bass. And now I've been playing bass for Cornerstone for good 3 or 4 years now.
And you taught yourself these instruments. I'm just in awe because I'm lucky if I hum on tune. So, and so at some point, you became part of a group. Can
Yes,
you
Mikey Mike and
talk
the
about?
Big Unit. So what happened with that was I was, of course, looking for opportunities to play down here when I first got here and heard about the Portsmouth Wind Symphony. So I went there and we were doing Porgy and Bess. It was back when Terry Thompson was still the director. And there was an alto solo in there. So of course, they got a chance to hear me play and they were like, yo, what in the world? So one of the flute players at the time, Lou Shuttle, he already knew Eli and Nick and them. He was like, hey, you all gotta hear and pick up the saxophone player. I think could make a great addition to Mikey Mike and the Big Unit. So they were throwing a party in Wheelersburg at Nick's house, not too far from then. It's like, go on to the party, take your sax, and see what happens. So I did, and been a
Are
part
you
of the group
crashing the
now for
party?
yeah, but been a part of the group for 6 years now.
So they were already together.
Yes, Nick, Chelsea, Eli, and Jacob were already a band.
So that's
And then
Chelsea
I went to
Golden
the party. Yes, Nick Nichols, Eli Vestich, and Jacob Ankrum.
and Chelsea's full name is Chelsea Golden.
Flower Watkins. I don't know if
That's a
that's
lot of
actually her
names.
middle name, but yeah, I
Still a
think
lot of names.
I know her just Chelsea Watkins. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know they were already a part of a group when you came in. Well, it's
Yes.
fantastic. I've heard you play out, and all of this is in the Portsmouth, Ohio area. And so, how did there's a blues night you do? I love
Yeah.
blues.
That
So,
that was all Eli because I mean I'm not sure I've ever seen Eli turn down an opportunity to play. Uh, so he set that up somehow with Corey. I don't know how they did it. I don't really know how they get in contact with some of these people. I I show up where they tell me to go if I don't have marching band or something else.
wow. So, can you describe the blues night a little bit? Is it an open mic or is it just your group?
It's an open jam. So what we'll do is, the house band, us, Mikey Mike, will play for about 45 minutes to an hour in the first set, take a little bit of a break, and then just whatever musicians are there and want to play. I mean, it's supposed to be mostly blues, but if somebody gets up there and plays Stairway to Heaven, we're not going to kick them off stage or anything.
Hmm.
Just whatever musicians are there and want to play, we'll try and get them up there. So we're trying to get more people there, trying to find ways to get more people there. Because we know there are a lot of musicians in Portsmouth. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I know Chelsea. I've known her for a while, and I got to tell you, confession here. I After the last time I heard you guys play somewhere, and I don't remember whether it was out or if it was Port City. Anyway, I sent her messages of all these songs I thought that you guys could do because I was like, oh, and this would be a great part for the sax, and you could sing this. And anyway, she probably thought I was crazy, but it's stuff that's probably not current, but it's
oh, they
got,
don't mind that.
yeah, it just, the sound, I just thought, oh, this would really, and it would appeal to a multi-generational audience. And
Right.
anyway, I may have to look through my notes and send some to you because I mean, I love music, and but it's kind of what I do in my house, not out. So, well, cool. So that is a regular once a month. The
Yes, every first Friday. So I'm gonna be, of course, missing for the next few Fridays that they're doing it because of football season. But after football season, I'll be back.
Because of the marching band.
Yes.
Okay. And marching band's a whole different level.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're in band camp right now.
We actually just, thank goodness, ended. Uh, it was it was 2 weeks of just crazy. I mean, and they're doing well, and I really like working with them. But it was 2 weeks in the heat
Oh,
and
it's always the heat.
sectionals.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
well,
always so hot or rainy,
was that, and then yeah,
humidity?
then we had the rain. We had construction going on in the band room. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, is this where they learn their formations and practice them?
As many as they can. This year, we kind of ended up focusing more on music a little bit because again, we're fighting through. I had a few COVID outages at the beginning of the week, volleyball practices and soccer practices, plus rain. So we focused a bit more on music. We almost have the first show on the field. We got a few more sets to do for that. But musically, they've got part one memorized. I think most of them have part two memorized. Part three is going to be a struggle because I was not nice when I wrote that one. Uh, so that one's going to be a struggle, and that's okay. But I mean, then they're able to play. We have our fair day set list done, plus some extra songs that we can pull out for football games. So musically, they're in a really good place.
Well, I'm going to take you back a little bit. You said something about when you wrote that one. Can you talk about your writing?
Yes, that was a task. So I actually wrote the show 2 years ago. I believe it was supposed to be used during that 2020 season, and then COVID hit. And the purpose, like I knew the purpose was going to be, I wanted to use it for a competition show. I didn't want to use it for a year that we weren't competing. So I held off on using it for a bit. And then now that we plan on competing this year, we're going to go ahead and use it. But yeah, basically, I just wanted to see if I could. I just wanted to see if I could write a marching show that would sound halfway decent. And so I sat down in my free time, whenever I had it, and tried to figure something out. I've always liked Latin music, so that was the route I went. I went with a Latin feel because I just love Latin music, and
Mm.
just you saw
So,
what I came up with.
so sounds just come to you, or you think of different instruments, could do it this way or that way, or how does that work?
Just trying to figure out what's going to sound good in the style that I'm going for, like what's going to capture the feel that I'm going for. And then, yes, sometimes I do feel like certain instruments should play this. So, our ballad, that second part, is a trombone solo because I just love the sound of trombones on ballads. Like, I could have written it for baritone, could have written it for trumpet, but And that's the advantage of me playing all these instruments is I can actually sit down, write something out, play it on this instrument and see if one, is it doable, but two, do I like how that sounds on this particular instrument or for this particular kit? So that's, an advantage for me. Um, but yeah, sometimes it is. I have a specific instrument or specific person in mind, like, hey, this person should play this.
Wow, I think I've not really known of anyone that wrote that sort of music before. I've known other songwriters, but it's, the lyrics or the rhythm or whatever, but to think of what instruments. Of course, when people mix music, I know they have to think of what they might want to put in. And you're exactly right. You can play it with your instruments and know how it will sound. So you said
And
you're
I think I might have done that. I think I might have one time taken the time, like taken printed out all the parts and then took each instrument and I forget what program I would have used. I don't think I have GarageBand on here, so I don't know what program I used, but sat there and recorded all the instruments. Probably part one is what I did it on. But the biggest struggle for me, I think, is writing the percussion parts because that's, I have a snare player and a tenor player that are just crazy good. And so figuring out
mm,
parts that will challenge them a little bit, but not make them want to quit is definitely a challenge. And then writing something that my bass players can also play, but doesn't get in the way of challenging the snare player and the tenor player is also just sometimes a bit of a struggle.
sounds like a balancing act.
Yes.
Um, Somehow I think you downplay the fact that you're writing your own music and you're playing the things and putting it together. And, way back, way back, there weren't computer programs uh, to like put it all together or to print out the music. So it's a good time to be able to do that composing because you can play it and a computer will print out the sheet music, and that's exciting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I couldn't do it without a computer program. I could not.
Think of the old movies where someone would be at a piano and they would play a note and they go to the paper. This old music. I'm like, oh, I would forget what the few notes I had done by the time I scribbled in the line.
Yeah, that
So,
would be me.
so let's go back to Mighty Mike. How did that name? It's Mighty Mike and the Big Unit.
Mikey Mike in the big
Mikey
unit.
Mike. I'm
I
sorry, I
always I
wrote down
always
my
forget
notes
the
wrong.
story. Oh no, you're right. I I feel like it was they like it was one of their friends that either gave them the name or was the inspiration for the name. I always forget the story. I know Eli would know it if I asked him.
Mm, well, that you guys are fantastic. I can just tell you that the instrumental, the vocal, everything. So I've really enjoyed that, hearing you out, and I want to be a part of some blues nights some nights where I can go and hear more. So we've talked about the fact that Bloom Where You're Planted is this podcast, and that quote means something different to everyone. So, what does it mean to you?
I think it just means to take the opportunity wherever life takes you to just do your best and grow as a person and as a professional in all aspects of life. You're there for a reason. And I think you can do good things, no matter where you end up. My dad and them live in Columbus. And so when people that knew me when I was younger ask where I'm at, I say Portsmouth, they're a little bit taken back, like, because, of course, they know the reputation. They're like, what's he doing down there? When's he coming home? Well, he's got a job down there and he likes it, I don't have an exit plan. I'm good where I'm at right now. I like what I'm doing. I like working with Portsmouth. And some of the other jobs I applied for, I know that I wouldn't have had the opportunities up there that I've had down here. So, like, one of the jobs that I thought I really wanted was with my alma mater, Pickerington Central. And I mean, they do have their own jazz band, but one of the aspects of Portsmouth that I really like is the show band. I actually like going out with the show choir and going to the different competitions, and they don't have that. So had I been there, that's an opportunity I would have missed.
That's that's true, and it's wonderful to like what you're doing, um, and or to love what you're doing and where you're doing it. So, how did you kind of backtracking? How did you get on the uh, praise band of Cornerstone United Methodist in Portsmouth?
I knew Emily Crandall because she's the choir director at
Oh,
Portsmouth,
oh,
and
I should
then
have known that. Yes.
yeah, well, and then Bob and Carol Mascari also were still doing the whole, like, winter they'd go to Florida, and then summer they'd be in Ohio. So, like, my I started out playing saxophone with Carol, and then once they go to Florida for the season, I'd pick up bass, but now they're in Florida more permanently, so I'm
Mm. Yeah,
stuck
I've
on.
noticed they were gone. So that group was Doc Rock and the Remedy. Did you play with them
Yeah,
some?
I have not. Clyde has mentioned, maybe having me play bass on a couple gigs with him, but, I know he's been traveling back and forth and dealing with some other stuff, so we haven't made it happen yet. But if he ever needs me to play bass, I'm open for it. So
Mm, yeah. So you've done a lot, you play a lot, you compose, lots of talent there. So, what words of wisdom would you give to someone that wants to do what you've done or are doing?
I'd say just go for it. If you want to do something, do it. Like I said, I wrote the marching band show just because I wanted to see if I could, make it sound good. Don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, people probably think I'm crazy, but sometimes if I hear bands playing somewhere, I might just accidentally have a saxophone in the car and either see if I know somebody on stage, or two, see if they mind me getting on stage. And I've had, there was the North End reunion. I did that. The band took a break. I said, "Hey, I'm a saxophone player from the area. I'm the band director at Portsmouth High. You mind if I get up for a song?" And at the end of their last set, they let me get up there. There was one time in Pickerington, there was a bar not too far from the house having live music. I went to go check them out. I walked in, they're playing a song that I know, and I was wondering if I would hear it. So they're about to take a break. I go to put something in the tip jar. Power player stops me and says, "Hey, don't I know you?" And I said, "Well, if you ever saw the William Brady Project Band play, then yeah, you probably did see me." He's like, "Well, that's where it was. I played guitar with you." He's like, "Do you have your saxophone with you?" "Yeah, go grab it." And of course, the lead singer didn't know who I was, so she was a little bit iffy on it. And then as soon as she heard me play, she's like, "Okay." So
He's in.
it's it's really just about not being afraid to go for it and kind of see where it takes you. Um, Obviously, if you want to be a teacher or something, get the degree and just apply to as many places as possible. Try and make as good of an impression as possible. When I did my interview, it was, nobody will believe it, but it was super unconscious. Portsmouth's colors are red and blue, and I wore a red and blue suit to the interview, not even thinking about it. And so, of course, when I got into the interview room, they were like, "Was that on purpose?" And I looked down and I was like, "No, it wasn't." But by the end of the interview, the superintendent was walking out with me, and he said, "If I call you Tuesday with the job offer, will you be ready to accept?" I didn't believe him. Like, "Yeah, sure." Went on home. Sure enough, Tuesday comes, like 9 o'clock. Mom's house sitting somewhere else. So I'm in the house by myself, and he calls me at 9 o'clock. So yeah, we'd like to offer you the job. I was like, yo, what? uh, so yeah, it's just you just have to kind of go for it and do it and be ready for what happens.
Wow. And accidentally wear the right colors to an interview. I'm just teasing. That is funny though. So, well, Tony, it's been really great having you today. And I'm sure that someone is going to listen to this and they're going to go, I want to do what he's done, or, pick up an instrument. And so as our time comes to a close, remember to keep creating, keep sharing, and keep supporting each other. And remember to bloom where you're planted. Bye for now.